for you guys watching the VOD. What's up? Today we've got a arcade CRT assembly here. Last night I got the tube off the driver board and you know, the power supply. I guess they're both kind of driver boards if you think about it. One just lives on the tube, right? So pulled that off there. So this monitor is having like a weird hold issue with its vertical and horizontal. So I wonder if it's taken audio from the Zoom mic. We got the sound recorder that we use when we shoot our regular videos. I hope it's taking that audio. I'm gonna take that cat off a bit. I was gonna do some classical iDubbbz maneuvers, like filming in a sewer outside, so, you know, dead cat's nice for the audio on those. So yeah, I've got this torn down to the point the boards are free. I've got my caps picked out. You see there's random caps sitting up here. Not using the caps that I normally would use for a recap like this, but the customer for this specific repair, you know, he insisted I do it as cheaply as possible, so here we are. Alright. I should probably grab like a blanket or something, get this tube off the bench, so I have room to work on the caps here. Lay down a couple of these. I know you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm just putting some big old microfibers down. Over here. Alright, tube board. All of this hardware should probably go like in the corner of this area. There we go. And this CRT is discharged, as you can see. Definitely do not touch these if you haven't discharged them. They run on a very high voltage. This sticker does not lie in this case. Alright, set this up over here for a sec. Look at all that dirt that came off that CRT. Man, those things they're literally dust magnets, because they hold a charge, like a static charge. Dust just cakes and sticks to them. I don't know if it's a static or a capacitive charge. Maybe both. I think it's both that those CRT monitors hold. Hi guys, welcome in. Cool. Looks a bit, W, hi. What's up guys? We're doing some arcade monitor repairs. Replacing some capacitors. Then we're going to be doing some, I got a car radio and a PlayStation 5 to get done yet tonight. So feel free to hang out. Any questions? I answer questions. I work on pretty much anything with the power button. That's our motto here. There are the fresh caps, or most of them. Alright. So we got, let's check this out. Ooh, that does not look good. I hadn't looked at this side of the board yet. Where's your sister's toothbrush? Sitting over here somewhere. Disorganization, like I say, every single day I'm working is going to be the death of me. One of these days. Grab that. Yeah, I was taking inventory, so this entire lab is just a huge mess. You know, as soon as you start sorting and organizing things a little bit, you know, everything starts to look a little worse. And you get it all nice and organized, and then you're like, okay, now where did I put anything at all? And everything takes twice as long. It's just one of those struggles. So sometimes I'll just keep it pretty messy in here. If it's messy and I know where everything is, I can still get my job done, right? If I sort it all, then that's another story. It usually just takes a little bit to figure out where I've put everything. It's just one of those things you got to deal with. For those of you that are hanging out, how's the sound? Sound quality better than normal? I've got our Zoom H6 sound recorder running on interface mode, and I don't know if YouTube Live it will like auto detect that I have an audio interface plugged in. I don't know if you guys are hearing me through my phone mics or the sound recorder. Hopefully the sound recorder, because it's 32-bit floating point sound. It's really nice. That belongs to cameraman Nathan, who isn't hanging out with us today. So yeah, there's like a bunch of old flux and corrosion on the back of this board. I'm just going to get the worst off of it now, and once I'm done recapping this, it's going straight through the ultrasonic cleaner to get all of the flux and dirt and debris off there. Get rid of all that monitored gunk. The other thing that this board might need is new trimmer potentiometers. Here where you adjust the monitor settings, because some of them turn nice and others like want to jump around and are wiggly, but I might just be able to get those clean and have them turn nice. We'll see. So it's this one is there and there. All right. Where did I put? There it is, right in front of my face. Flux that up. I should probably get the vacuum station hot if I want to be desoldering anything with any sort of speed or efficiency. I hate using solder wick. Solder wick is just not the move when it comes to doing this kind of stuff. Some people like it. I can't stand the stuff. It has its place. Like, I still have it in the lab. But, yeah, I hardly ever use it. I use this instead. I just give it a good suck, you know? That's how you solve all of your problems in life, is just give it a good suck, right? Make sure I wet my solder sponge over here. And I'm ready to get started. Sweet. Well, I've been started. So that's our 470 microfarad. Shove that new one in. dab of flux on there. That fell right out. There we go. That's much better. .22s. So yeah, I'm using it's a variety pack of capacitors from Micro Center. They're literally Chong X brand, so like ultimate Chinesium capacitors. But you know, the customer didn't want to pay, you know, what this cost. And, you know, I'd already see I got looped in. I didn't expect to have to do any electronic stuff to this cabinet. It's a Sega Outrun cabinet. I got looped into it because it was just a gear issue, so I just 3D printed some new gears for it. Got those up in the pedal box. And the, no, the pedal box gears were fine. It was the drive. You know, it's a driving game. Those were all broken. But then I get in here and, like, here the CRT's, like, way out of adjustment. It's not displaying red properly. It's got, like, a hold issue. This had sat in a garage quite a long time. And this part of the machine was absolutely filthy. How's it going, guys? Feel free to ask any questions. Anything electronics repair. I do phones, laptops, arcades, CRT monitors like we're doing right now. I've got a car radio up next, and after that we'll be doing a PlayStation 5 board, which needs some new MOSFETs because it's got like a VRM line on like the PWM controller shorted. So that'll be a fun repair. Yep, 22 microfarad, 25 volt. We're putting in 50 volt, 22 UF. You can always go up in voltage. With capacitors, you can never go down. And you never want to change the capacity that you're installing. Just a pro repair tip for you. Do you do amplifiers? Yeah, actually, I got a car audio amplifier up here that I just did. I got another one sitting over there that we were streaming last night and fixing. So yeah, I love working on audio amplifiers. Audio equipment's probably my favorite type of repair. So I hope that answers your question, Twisted. Yeah, audio stuff is my favorite. I do tube amps, Class D amps, AB amps, Class H powered subwoofers, PA systems. I do preamps and mixers. Yeah, all kinds of stuff. Well, really, I mean, it's literally on my business card. Anything with a power button. That's what it says right here. Anything with a power button. Those are nice, by the way. Metal. I laser engrave these. I hand people that, like, you know, somebody's like, oh yeah, you got a business card. I hand them one of those. And they're like, I can keep this? I'm like, yeah. I hand those out. I've got 50 more. See? They only cost 20 cents. These thick steel business cards. 20 cents, right? But when I hand these business cards out, you get handed something, it's 0.8 millimeter thick steel. So this is thicker than like, you know, like a American Express Platinum card, right? Those are made of aluminum too. They're even lighter. So you get handed this and it just feels wrong to throw this in the trash. You get handed a paper business card, it'll be in the trash by next Monday, right? So I'll get calls on business cards I handed out 6-9 months ago. Because, like, it's cool, it's shiny, feels wrong to throw away. They're very, very effective, and they only cost me 20 cents, and they pay for themselves every single time. So, yeah, just access to a laser engraver makes a big difference for whether or not that's like a viable strategy marketing-wise, I guess. I just happen to have a laser engraving unit. But I mean, if you're an entrepreneurial-minded person, you could probably use a laser at like a local makerspace or tool library. I know my local makerspaces have lasers. I don't ever really use them because I have my own, but I do repair them for a couple different makerspaces and tool libraries and stuff. Those things don't break often. It's usually the 3D printers that are broken and needing fixing. Because way more people come there to use the 3D printers. Now, are those intentionally bridged? Oh, no, there's a trace between them. Okay. With these old hand-painted, or, like, really weird mask-work-shaped boards on this, like, 80s stuff, sometimes it's hard to tell if, like, a solder bridge is intentional. Because sometimes, like, they just won't... If the joints are close enough, they just won't put a trace there. They'll just bridge it. So you got to be kind of careful with some of these things. This is before, you know, all of this was done by a machine. I'm pretty sure somebody hand laid out this this mask on this board and then, you know, threw it in the acid bath to etch it. Like, things were done very, very different back in the 80s as far as PCB manufacturing. It's a 10UF. And, which side's the freaking negative on that? Because this one's misprinted. I think it's positive on this side, yeah. Yep, definitely, because it's coming from this chip here. Yeah, it's coming from the chip, so my right hand side is going to be the negative. See, the cap I just pulled off that board didn't have a clear marking. Like, look, where's the band? Yeah, it's a polar capacitor, but it has literally no indication about its polarity. You gotta love that. Comes from a different time, different era. It's a great idea. How thick are those plates? 0.8 millimeters. So almost a full millimeter of stainless steel. They make a nice sound. Hi, welcome in, guys. Feel free to ask me anything. We're doing some electronics repair right now. This is a arcade CRT monitor. After that, we got a car radio up here that we're going to be doing. And then after that, I've got a PlayStation 5 board sitting over here. We'll see what all we get done. Last time I streamed, I got like 60 people in here, and I didn't get anything done because I was answering questions. But I had a good time either way, right? But I'm not shy. Any questions, ask away. I'm sure anything electronics repair related, I probably have a interesting story to tell about something there. You know, people were asking me like, hey, what's the craziest thing you repaired last night? And I was like, oh boy, do I got stories for you. By the way, there we go. Alright, get this guy soldered in here. So I hope you guys are all having a good doom scroll through the old YouTube shorts. Maybe some of you are taking a dump. And you've been scrolling through YouTube shorts that you've ran out of like the good content from the channels you like to see, and then they just kind of throw you these live streams. And in my experience, none of the live streams like on YouTube shorts are very good, so I kind of decided, well, why don't we change that? I could just stream what I do for my job, and it's pretty interesting. I'd watch that while taking a dump, you know? It's kind of funny. I do this all day for work, and then I'll go home. Well, I work from home. But, you know, I'll stop working, and You know, I'll be like sitting on the couch watching some other guy do the exact same thing. You know, I'm watching other technicians that are repairing boards just because I love what I do. And, I'm always trying to learn more. So I'm always watching other technicians. I've been doing this 10 years, so this has been... I was watching people do this on YouTube before I ever really got super, super into it. I'm talking, 12-year-old Daniel over here. Watching a 20-something-year-old Louis Rossman in his, peak MacBook repair era. What value did I just pull out of there? That was another 10? Yeah, that was another 10. Or was it? I'm going to gaslight myself real quick. Hang on. Was it this one or was it that other one? No, it clearly had a marking. Where did I just toss that? I usually am pretty good about being able to talk and do my job correctly at the same time. But I guess today is just not that day, huh? Must have been that one. I replaced that one, that one. I should... Yeah, I've got 3 caps. I'm missing a cap, yeah. Did it go on the floor? Who knows? Doesn't matter. I can always, look it up or something, right? We'll try a 10. If it doesn't work, I'll go back, and that's the first thing I'm going to look at if it doesn't work. How about that? I'm sure there's a schematic for this board. It's from the 80s. I could just look it up. What if you leave that cap without replacing it? Because in mobile phone PCBs, we usually leave some not replaced because it's parallel. Yeah, there's virtually no parallel capacitors in a circuit this old. It's all, through hole. I know exactly what you're talking about, man. I do phone boards. I've got an iPhone 13 sitting up here. Data recovery. Let me, I don't want to get arcade goop on this iPhone board, but I do want to show it to you. Give me a clean room cloth. Yeah, see, I don't want to get that on the iPhone. Get this out of here. So yeah, I'm doing data recovery. That's an iPhone 13 board there. And, there's a bad cap. I literally just rip it off and test. I don't even try to replace it, because a lot of the time it's redundant. A lot of redundancy on, the tiny little SMD caps on those boards. But if I do have to replace it, I've got cap books. All your different values in there. And some of the ones I use a ton of, like these guys. These are the 1 picofarad capacitors. This is the tiny little capacitor on a PlayStation 5's HDMI port. It's right next to where the traces are soldered to the board. So I buy these 5,000 at a time. Cost $20 or something. And always have them. Rarely ever need them, but I always have them. Because 20% of my business here is repair recovery. So other shops will send me stuff that, the new guy screwed up or something, and they just don't want to mess with. So a lot of the stuff I have coming in has already been worked on, and they weren't able to figure it out for whatever reason. So stuff like those PlayStation 5 capacitors, they get knocked off. Somebody watched a YouTube video, and they're like, oh yeah, I can change my HDMI port. And, I'd say 60-70% of people that try it that way probably succeed. But that other 20, 30, 40%, whatever, end up knocking off one of those little TVS diodes or one of those little capacitors. Just tiny little microscopic things right next to that port that they're trying to heat up. It's either that or they rip the traces clean off the board. I've seen that a lot. Alright, so that's a 10, and that's a 33. Alright, so 10 here. That one? Yep, that one. The wave solder joints on the back of this board are just huge compared to what you see on like modern, even like modern through-hole stuff. And by modern, I mean like early 2000s or 90s or industrial stuff that they just don't do SMD stuff with because they've always made them that way, and like reliability and being a proven device like matters a whole ton in like industrial systems. And they've always like wave soldered them, so they're gonna keep wave soldering them. Like, you'll never see very much SMD on, like, your furnace control board, for example. It's all going to be through-hole. It won't look anything like this. It's going to have modern mask works, but, you know, it's still, we're still not there yet with, there's no reason to, like, make air conditioner controller board smaller. They're panel mounted in a cabinet, and like your air handlers or blowers or heat exchangers or what have you in your furnace are going to determine the size of that cabinet. So like there's never been a demand to make them smaller and more efficient, only more efficient. So they've just kept using through-hole components because they're more reliable, they're cheaper to manufacture, and it requires less engineering on their end to just keep using through-hole all the way. Also makes them more serviceable, probably saves them money on RMA, because a lot of those, you know, so all the solder joints are on one single side of the board, and they can goop it, they can conformal coat it, which makes, who's calling me? I'm streaming. No. Yeah. So, like, if you look like a air conditioner board, usually I have a pile of them on the floor over here. My buddy works HVAC, cameraman Nathan. He does heating and cooling service and installs and stuff. So he always has a pile of boards for me that somebody's replaced their furnace because, like, their heat exchanger broke or their blower broke, and it's 7 years old, you know? But, like, the electronics on it they're fine. So I take them and I throw them through the ultrasonic cleaner, clean them up real nice, I'll recap them, and then I just sell them on eBay. So, yeah, I guess I refurbish air conditioner boards as a side hustle. And that was the 33, right? Yeah, 33 UF. That one there. Yeah, and I think another reason that they haven't migrated to like doing, what are you barking at now, dog? Hey, hang on. I might have a delivery. We will be right back momentarily. I'm just gonna like throw some stuff that looks interesting in front of the camera so that like maybe not everyone will immediately leave or scroll past. You know, just playing the algorithm. Hey, there's a blower controller board. No, that's a defrost board. Like, you probably have that exact board in your air conditioner right now. Yeah, I guess we're barking at the void today. Yeah, hazards of working from home. Yeah, these American Standard Train defrost boards, you see these in like almost every single air conditioner. At least up here where we get, you know, snow and ice and stuff. Have you ever worked on a Nando brand arcade monitor chassis? No, I'm actually fairly new to the arcade monitors, and just arcade stuff. I've been doing electronics repair for like a decade. So I've only been doing arcade stuff this year. So there's a lot of it I haven't touched before. But once you've been doing this long, as long as I have, it all starts to be the same thing, That's why my motto is anything with a power button is, like, you cannot throw me a curveball. I encourage you to try. We take mail-ins. At the end of the day, they're all electronics. And when you understand electronics the way I do, you can do pretty much anything worth repairing, right? I've done, like, coffee makers and robots and all kinds of crazy shit. If there's a demand for it, I will fix it. But my bread and butter, my background, repair-wise, is definitely with cell phone repair. I've worked at every chain repair shop you can probably list off the top of your head. All those big chains, the ones owned by the insurance companies and managed by guys that don't know anything about electronics. Yeah, those ones. Some of them are really good because they have guys like me working for them. And then some of them are just terrible. And you won't know which one you're getting until you walk in the door and try your luck, I guess. I don't care if you have me repair your stuff or someone else, but get a mom and pop shop, where they have one location or two locations. And, yeah, you just you search, like, phone repair or electronics repair. Any place that looks really messy, has a lot of shit in there, that's a good place. If they say they do water damage repair and data recovery, that's a good place. The less technical looking stuff you can see when you walk in the door, the less promising of a repair shop you're in. If it looks like a hospital lobby, run. Yeah, that's just my advice for choosing where to get your device repaired. In my experience, having worked at all of the above. Like, your CPR and You Break I Fix. There's some great franchises out there ran by, great business owners. A lot of them are in, like, the Open Repair Group Discord. I talk to them. And then there's the rest of them, which is most of them. Even the good franchises, the owners of those good franchises will admit that, like, this company as a whole, like CPR, for example, or You Break I Fix, not great. That's just the problem with franchises. You see the same problem with McDonald's is, the McDonald's 10 minutes down the road is really good, but the one that's 5 minutes down the road will serve you soggy fries. And unless you're local and you've been to both of those McDonald's, you won't know the difference until you try it, right? That's why I hate getting fast food while traveling, is, like, you're just gambling on, like, I hope this town's good fill-in-the-blank restaurant, right? So I always try to eat, like, local places when I'm traveling. Because then you can, like, read the reviews and probably get a good idea if you'll have a good experience there. But that gets expensive really fast, too. Well, actually, these days, fast food prices... It used to be, like, fast food was, like, mediocre food at a cheap price. Now it's mediocre food at the same price as everything else. And I don't know why people are still, like... I mean, I guess it's very habit-forming or something like that. People are used to it. And, people hate change, too, so why try new things? Trying new things is scary. Hi, welcome in, guys. It's crazy how many people will sit here and just watch me solder on a arcade monitor board, but I guess it's interesting. It's one of those things, it's like... You've been doing this as long as I have, you kind of get numb to how interesting some of the stuff you do is. I'm not trying to toot my own horn or anything. It's just, at a certain point, you're sitting there, looking at people messing around with lab equipment, and it's just another Tuesday for you. I still enjoy every minute of it, don't get me wrong. It's just, it loses that magic, right? That magic gets replaced with curiosity. Like, this is it turns from black magic wizardry to, you know, childlike curiosity. Watching people do technical stuff. That is, if you're in a highly technical trade, watching someone do something that, you know, requires a lot of skill or knowledge or expertise, it goes from, like, literally they may as well be a wizard to, like, oh, wow, I have 20 questions for that guy about what he does and how long it took him to learn what he does and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I'm sure this guy probably has some cool technical information, some lessons he's learned along the way that might even help me with my job, you know? So I love talking to people in different trades and different fields of engineering and stuff. Makes my day. Do you order your tools online, or do you... A little bit of both. A lot of the phone repair specific stuff I end up getting online from the same places I'm ordering, like, my phone screens and batteries and stuff. Which that would be like Mobile Centrics or Injured Gadgets. A lot of the phone repair tools I've got there. Some of the tools I've built myself. Others, you know, I order online. Like I bought this at an ST862D from Louis Rossman's online store. Soldering iron. This is actually my cameraman's. He just doesn't use it, and he's like, here, use this. Yours sucks. Because running my own, I've been doing electronics repair like this for a decade, but running my own business, this is my first year in business. January 12th will actually be 1 year. So I had some pretty shit tools, and, you know, I value good tools. Like, you know, I've got CK, like, hand tools, like my clips here. But these were a gift from a retired engineer. I can't afford this shit. Yeah, so when you're a tool guy, you just accumulate tools, so it's always a little bit of both. I can't go into, like, Micro Center or Home Depot or Lowe's or Menards. I can't go into any of those places without spending, like, $100 plus. It's a problem. There's a pretty decent demand for repairing those monitors. Yeah, I know. I actually bought one of these last night for another cabinet I have in the garage. Video's coming out soon. It's going to be our Christmas special. So cameraman Nathan, who's been filming all, like, the 4K, like, high-quality content we've been posting, all 2 of them, right? We have a big backlog of stuff that my editor is getting through. He was just on vacation, so we're going to be consistently posting stuff that Nathan shot, but I haven't paid him yet. We kind of have this, you know, he's a friend first and, you know, a coworker second. So he knows I'll pay him really, really well once, you know, the business and the channel pick up. But for Christmas, I was working with a client that does arcade stuff. Like, I've got his, he's got about 8 machines in his basement. He's local to me. This is his Galaga board that I just repaired. I need to put that back together and run it over to him. Get that installed. I was doing some services for him, and he had this Centipede arcade cabinet. That's the one with, like, the pool ball shaped thing, and you like, roll it around or whatever. The bug-themed one. He had one of those with a dead tube. And he already owns a Millipede machine, which is a very similar game. It's just a little bit newer. And the tube for the Centipede, those things are like dodo birds. They're kind of hard to find, especially in good condition, good working condition. So I bought one off Facebook Marketplace last night, drove all the way down. I live north of Columbus, Ohio. I drove 2 hours with my cameraman to go pick up this monitor. Because it turns out, when I was given the Centipede machine by this customer, you know, really good customer of mine, love that guy. You know, he just handed me an arcade machine. That's the kind of terms we're on. It turns out Centipede happens to be cameraman Nathan's mom's favorite game of all time. And I'm like, huh, is that so? Well, you know what? Why don't we fix it up for her and give it to her for Christmas? So we're going to be making a video, you know, restoring this Centipede cabinet and then giving it to cameraman's mom. Your mom! I don't speak German. I assume he's talking about radios or something audio. Groovebox seems like a Groovebox Fixin'. Yes, Groovebox Fixin'. Yeah. Yeah. um, you know, I got a car radio. I got a right here. I've got a subwoofer amplifier. I've got more audio equipment. I've got a Klipsch reference sound bar up there, and a couple other pieces of fun audio equipment kicking around. I'd have to go out to the overflow bins, but yeah, yes, Groovebox Fixin'. All right, what value is this guy here? Oh no, wait, I just did this one, so we're on that. 22 UF. That's gonna be those two, I think. No, it's these guys. Yeah, the shape of the traces on boards this old are kind of weird. Like on a modern board, I can glance at the capacitor on the top of the board, flip it over, and know exactly which two solder joints I'm going to be looking at. On these ones, I kind of have to like put my hand on one side of the board and the other to figure out, you know, where the legs of that capacitor end up. On some of the older stuff that I do all the time, I've kind of already just learned where everything is. But for this specific board, this is the first time I've ever done anything to this board. This is a K7000. I think it's a K7000 CRT. It's a 24-inch CRT. I don't know a lot about CRTs. I know a lot about fixing electronics. I can't just, this is one of those things I'm not at that point where I can just rattle off a ton of, like, highly technical information about it. I know how they work, I know what fails on them, and I know people really want them fixed for their arcade cabinets, because arcade cabinets are dope. Everything else I will figure out along the way. So there's that, next 22 UF3. Shove a new cap in there and keep on rolling. Do you teach? Yeah, I actually have some paid clients, and I try to make pretty educational videos. I don't always succeed keeping my videos like highly informative. I'm no I'm not Lewis Rossman or Northbridge Fix, where it's like mostly just very technical information about what I'm doing. I like to yap too much, and I like to meme around a little bit too much for my videos to be that good. But yeah, I definitely have local clients, guys in my Discord, other Discords that I start talking about my experience, and they're like, hey, can you teach me? And I'm like, yeah, I could teach an elementary schooler to do what I'm doing right now. It's really not that complicated once you have it figured out. I'm not saying an elementary schooler could figure it out, but I could definitely teach them to do it. Just need a really good teacher. If you're interested in learning motherboard repair, though, probably the best place to go for that isn't me. I'd go to Jessa Jones at iPad Rehab. She teaches micro soldering, and she's an excellent teacher. She taught one of my good buddies, David, who runs a local shop here in the town I live in. Yeah, he actually went out and did the Jessa Jones and Lewis Rossman class. It was like the second class they ever did. This is back in like the iPhone 5 and 6 days. So like iPhone 5s with long screw damage were like the big thing that everyone was trying to figure out how to do. And, he had already been doing board repair at that point. He already had watched some of Lewis Rossman on YouTube, and he'd got like the Hacko equipment, and he'd got JBC station and his microscope, big old AM scope, like one of the really nice AM scopes, like the trinocular ones. with like the big sliding mount. You can like just push it with one finger. Really nice microscopes. Like he went all out when he started his business. I don't know if he won the lottery or what. Or maybe, I don't know what he did before this. He's been in business like 10 years. His own business 10 years. So, I don't know how long he was even doing that before he went and started his own company. Probably quite a long time. You know. We're both kind of at that stage in, like, learning electronics repair that, like, anything that would be, a little too old for me to be very familiar with, I'm going to ask him about it, because he's probably dealt with thousands of them. And, his repair shop is, like, in my town. It's pretty much, like, it's got a very, very strong local reputation, so he can't keep up with his demand, really. And, you know, his reputation is what drives his business, what makes it profitable. So he's hesitant to hire, like, anyone, because his business is what it is because of how good he is at what he does and the service that he's able to provide. So I do a lot of work for his company, at my company. He's thought about hiring me. He probably would at this point, because we've done so much work in business together at this point. He knows he can trust me to have, like, the same quality standard that he does. But, you know, 10 years solo business, he's doing great for himself. But he doesn't do a lot of board repairs anymore. He makes more money just helping old ladies that, you know, got a virus on their laptop, or like cloning hard drives, you know, out of like dead power supply, like old tower computers. Like he gets 8 of those in a week where they just need the data off this computer that no longer works. And they'll drop off the whole ancient, like, 2005 Dell tower. Nice, definitely subscribed. Can tell by your desk, this is a channel, this is gonna be good. Love tinkering with old consoles and arcade machines. Me too, man. TK Baja, thank you, thank you. Every subscription goes a long way. You know, and on this channel, you'll never see Raid Shadow Legends, any fucking crappy VPN, because I own an electronics repair company. So if I'm going to be making money on YouTube, it's going to be because my viewers are choosing my business for their electronic repairs. So I don't have to play the sponsorship game. I don't have to play the AdSense game. I can focus on just making videos that I would like to see. The video that I think should exist, you know? So I think that's one of the reasons this channel is doing so well, is because it's highly professional, but it hasn't lost that soul of just like, this is a passion project. Because I think once you get a little too corporate with a successful YouTube channel, like it just kind of loses that, you know, that thing all the popular YouTube channels used to have, you know? That special something something. When it was just like a dude with a camera making videos because he liked making videos, right? You don't see a lot of that anymore. Which sucks, honestly. It is what it is, though. But, you know, that's what I want to see more of in the world, so that's what we're doing. Hey, can ask for help? Yes, can ask for help. Shoot, I need to get, like, my Discord link, like, copied and pasted, for our Discord. But, what do you got going on? I'm not gonna butcher trying to pronounce your name, my friend, but, yeah, certainly, if you've got a question, shoot your shot, I might have an answer. If I don't have an answer, I know a guy that does. That's one of the things with how long I've been doing electronics repair, is there are a couple things out there that are still over my head. And most of that is just simply due to, like, I don't have the equipment, because we're talking about, like, very expensive equipment at this point. Like, see, I don't have a full-fledged clean room, so open platter hard drive data recovery is something that I'm forced to outsource. I'd love to build a clean room, but, you know, find me $80,000 to build a clean room, and we'll get there, right? But, you know, there's a guy here in Columbus, Ohio, that's been really good. My buddy at the local repair shop, David, uses him. He has fair pricing. He gets good results. His communication's excellent. And, you know, I'm just transparent with my customers. I'm like, hey, you need open platter. I'll either send it to that guy in Columbus or I'll send it to Chris at Rossman Repair Group. Chris does a great job, too. Let's see. I want to make a multiple impedance profile from a conducting foam where they're multi-pressure touch. I need a single sensor or multiple sensors to make multiple profiles. So what you need is, you'll need like an Arduino or an AVR board or something like that. And you're going to set what would normally be like a digital 1-0 input for a button as an analog input. And what you need to do is copy Sony's homework. So Sony has the DualShock 3 and the PlayStation. I don't know if the DualShock 3, this is the wireless one. So this came out after the PlayStation 2. But the PlayStation 2 actually has pressure-sensitive buttons. And it is like a carbonized foam, and it's conical shaped. So the trace is big and thick, and you have this cone-shaped conductive pad on the back of this button. So when you press it more, the resistance gets even lower. So I'd take one of these apart and kind of copy what they're doing with that, because these are pressure-sensitive buttons. Which I think is what you're trying to achieve. Multiple impedance profile from a conducting foam. That's basically what that is. In engineering speak. I'm no engineer. I'm a complete amateur. But I know a few things. I like to understand how things work. And I've certainly designed plenty of circuits and stuff like that. But, you know, I'm a repair guy first. Engineer second. Multiple pressure points. From like a single piece of foam. Like multiple conductive locations that you can touch. Something like that. A manual. What level of electric knowledge do you need to be a repair tech like me? Literally 0. I have a lot of electrical knowledge. I'm very nerdy about it. But being a good repair person and being really good at electronics are two completely different things. A lot of people that are good at one are also good at the other. That's just kind of natural. Louis Rossman, for example, he can get his shipping guy to do microsoldering repairs on MacBook motherboards. He got his shipping guy to fix a PP bus V3V3 hot that was shorted to ground. He got him to fix that because he's a good teacher, right? So it really depends on what you're trying to repair. If you want to get into cell phone repair, you don't need to know a damn thing about how electricity works. You just need to have good organization, high attention to detail, great problem-solving skills, and then you need to know how to read an iFixit guide and watch a couple YouTube videos. As far as like how the LCD or OLED screen works, it doesn't matter. You just have to replace it and replace it correctly, right? So it's one of those things. It's like, does a mechanic have to know how to design his own engine? No, he just needs to know how to fix it. And he needs to figure out how it's broken. It's one of those things. But I will definitely endorse, you know, learning about electronics. It's very, very interesting. Learning new things is good for your brain. I'll encourage you to learn. But is it necessary to do repairs? Not at all. Not at all. Not even close. And, you know, I'm just quoting somebody way smarter than me, by the way. That's not an original thought. Louis Rossman said that. A couple other guys have said that. That's just what we all say. Because it's true. I need another 1,000 UF. Yeah, that 1,000 UF is probably fine. I'm going to measure that one. Because I know I'm very low on those. And usually the bigger the capacitor is, the less likely it is to fail. Because the bigger capacitors have lower parasitics. It's usually the tiny little guys that are the problem causers on these. Same with even modern stuff. Like, if you've got like a PlayStation or an Xbox or something, If a capacitor has failed, one of those little multi-layer ceramic capacitors, it's always the smallest one in parallel. Like, you'll have 5 in parallel, like 3, 4, 5 big ones. It's always the tiny one. Thank you, bro. Hey, you're welcome. It's the truth. Do you have similar skills with software development and scripting? No, I'm terrible at software. Whenever I'm, like, doing, like, Arduino or Raspberry Pi projects, I'm so lost. I'm like, that's the one time I'll use AI for anything, is, like, I'll ask ChatGPT, hey, can you look at my code? Because I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. Because, I don't know any developers that, have that kind of time or patience, because, you know, I just haven't invested the time to learn. I've always been like a hardware and like electronics design kind of guy. When it comes to like coding firmware or anything like that, like I'm useless. I'd like to learn. I'm starting to learn, but I'm just not good at it yet. What common failures do you typically see on HVAC boards? They tend just not to fail. They're so reliable, but when they do, it's usually manufacturing defect. Oh, I got like solder flux stuck in the back of my nose. Hang on. Arcade dust is killer, man. I should probably be running the fume extractor, let's be honest. HVAC boards. Yeah. Sometimes you'll see an electrolytic decoupling capacitor that is just too old, but those are pretty easy to change. Every once in a while you'll see a stuck relay, but it's usually, you see how this is shiny? That's conformal coating. So that covers up all the solder joints. Every once in a while you'll get a board that like the coating ends here, and like these joints are exposed to the elements. That's a failure I see far more often than any of the individual components, is the solder joints themselves. They just won't be coated properly, and they'll be, you know, oxidized to high hell, and they just need replaced. So, yeah, that's how most of them fail. It's usually oxidation of the solder joints where the conformal coating was either misapplied or, like, got worn down from, like, I don't know, heat or something. I guess if you get this stuff too hot, it does start to melt. Does your friend repair TVs? Both of us do. And does TV repair pay well? TV repair is a nightmare as far as like profitability, because the customer that needs their TV repair is not typically able to diagnose their TV. And the thing with TVs, especially like LCDs and OLEDs like most people have today, is if you break the display panel, it's not going to be viable to repair. When you buy a TV, what do you pay for, right? You pay for the screen. So when the screen breaks, you buy a new TV, because you can replace the displays, don't get me wrong, it's possible. It's just not profitable. 80 to 90% of the cost of your television is that liquid crystal display or that OLED panel. The power supply and the motherboard, like, they cost nothing compared to the manufacturing of the actual screen panel, the backlight, all of that. So if the display breaks, like, there's just not a lot of room to make money. Now, there are certain TVs and monitors that I'll mess with if I can tell it's definitely not a broken panel, or it's worth finding out, like your 4K stuff, like if it costs several $1,000s, sometimes there's room there to waste a little bit of time figuring out if it's a display or not. But there's so much easier and more accessible repairs. So I do them, but it's a lot of having the same conversation over and over and over. Is like, well, is the display broken? Are you able to hear sound going through it? Like, you know, do you get a picture? You know, sometimes it's a power supply, sometimes it's a problem with the motherboard. It's almost never a problem with the motherboard, by the way. Sometimes it's a backlight, but I think about like 8 out of 10 TV repair leads that I get in just aren't worth repairing, because it needs a new display, and those display panels are way too expensive to be viable. But yeah, there are definitely some TVs that are worth screwing with. It's time consuming, but I enjoy it. I like working on them. Don't get me wrong. I've got a pile of dead TVs in the hallway right now, because people will recycle them. And I like ripping the backlights out of them and stuff like that. Like actually, these shelves are underlit. I don't have a dedicated power supply for it. I just use my bench power supply. But they're underlit with Samsung IPS backlights, you know. So I just, take the TV apart. I ripped the LED strips out of them. They run about 15, 30 volts, something like that. Let's hook those back up. There we go. Is that hooked up right? Blue's ground. I might have knocked one of the connections of those off. I haven't used those lights in a minute. Okay, so something's wrong with my LEDs I have taped to the bottom of my shelves, but whatever. I've also made like some of these lights up here that I'm using for the stream. Those are old TVs. This one's an aquarium light for a planted aquarium. Some very DIY stuff. I think my camera's dirty. Either that or like the bitrate just isn't that great. Oop. There must be something kind of conductive like on the edge of my screen. I tap the screen, it tries to zoom in. Let's see. You just live streaming randomly, or do you have special days you do? I would love to know. Twisted Insane. I've been streaming every day I can. I missed yesterday. This is like the third stream. But yeah, no, this is just what I do for my job. And I figured, hey, I scroll on YouTube Shorts when I'm not working. All 2 hours of the day I'm not working, right? And like, you get to a certain point, they always dump you on some live stream, right? And they're never good. They're always just some person, like, generic background. You can't tell anything interesting happening, and you just scroll right past it, right? And I'm like, this is pretty cool, what I do for my job, fixing electronics. If I was taking a dump and doom scrolling, I'd probably stick around for a minute and see what's going on. Because there's like one or two other guys doing a similar thing as well. Louis Rossman used to do this all the time, too. Like, he'd just open up the shop, stay till 4 in the morning, and he'd just be streaming, repairing his Mac boards, So I figured, yeah, probably a good use of my time, and people seem to like it. People seem to hang around and ask some cool questions. So, yeah, feel free to come by anytime. We also take mail-ins if you want to send stuff in for us to work on or take apart or do whatever with. I think my website's actually down right now. But you know what? There's my business card. Just take a screenshot. You can call or text that number. That's not my personal number. That's my company number. I own the company. Advanced Device Repair. There you go. Yeah, I think my website's down. My web hosting, like adr.tech, that's a very expensive website. Kind of a dumb idea as a business owner to buy that expensive of a website before you're really making any money. Like my business hasn't broke even yet. We're getting close, but it hasn't broke even yet. We're in our first year. What business pays for itself in the first year, right? And like that website, I have to renew it. It's like $1,300, and I'm like, I can't justify that right now. I got way bigger fish to fry. So, if I have to change my website down the road because they price gouge me because I let the domain expire, who cares? Whatever. I'm not a good web developer anyway. It wasn't that great of a website in the first place. I'm good at fixing electronics. I'm not great at building websites. Do you do piano keyboards too? I've done a lot of MIDI control devices, but usually weirder ones than keyboards, funny enough. I'm very capable of, repairing pretty much anything, and I mean, it's going to be a MIDI device, right? So I'll be able to fix it. If you had one that you wanted me to look at, yeah, that's definitely something I'd like to branch out into. It can't be much different than DJ controllers, right? Or like there's launch pads, or like, what do they call them? It's like not PLCs. PLCs are industrial control things, like the like the drum pad things. I used to be really into like audio engineering shit, but I can't think of what like even that thing is called anymore. Like launch pads or MIDI fighters, something similar to that. But yeah, I could definitely do a keyboard. I've taken keyboards apart before. I used to have a keyboard in my bedroom at my parents' house, and both my brother and I played piano growing up. We took professional piano lessons. I didn't stick with it. I had very little interest in it. I mean, I don't regret, the amount of time that our parents made us put into that, because it was definitely somewhat helpful. Just building a skill. Learning how to learn skills is an important skill to learn. I know that sounds very circular and abstract, but it's true. So yeah, that was one of those things that I learned to learn how to learn things when I was like 8 to 14 or whatever. But I had more fun taking apart the keyboard than actually playing on it. Because it was just, it's like the second cheapest Yamaha keyboard, right? Nothing crazy special. It was a cool thing to have, invite the neighborhood girls to come over. And, you look way cooler if you have a keyboard in your room. They're like, oh, he's like Bo Burnham and Justin Bieber. Yeah. It's one of those things that, like, you have a keyboard in your room because it makes you look cool, or you have a keyboard in your room because you really like making music. One or the other. What's the most insulate repair demanded for you to do? Insulate? There's an SAT word for you. I might actually need to look up the definition of that. I'm not... like the most ridiculous, the most absurd, the most, like, questioning humanity kind of thing? Is that what you're asking? Or you're asking, like, yeah, I think that's what you're asking, right? Yeah, okay, I get people calling me all the time asking me if I can do plumbing. I don't know why. I'm not a plumber. Like some people, I don't know. They just search repair and they click on the first link. So I get people asking me if I can come to their house and fix their refrigerator. I get people asking me if I'm an electrician or a plumber, or if I do concrete. I'm like, no, I'm not a general contractor. We do electronics repair. Do you have a broken PCB? Do you have a cell phone, a laptop, a game console, the controller out of the dashboard of your car or your airplane? Anything with a power button. But no, I will not do your plumbing. I cannot install a toilet. No, I can't install a toilet. I will not install a toilet. I was raised right. My dad is an extremely handy person. He used to live in Mexico. He lived in Mexico for 9 years. And then growing up, we were really, really poor. Until, like, I hit a certain age and my mom got a really, really, really good job. So we went from being like piss poor to like upper middle class in like a 1 year span. That was kind of whiplash for a kid. Uh, um, so I was taught, I was taught how to change my oil. I was taught how to work on cars. I was taught how to, remodel a kitchen. I was taught how to install a toilet. I was taught how to, put a light switch in the wall. All kinds of like, blue collar job sort of things that, if you were upper middle class, raised in the suburbs, you've probably never even thought about doing yourself. But like, if you're poor, like we were growing up, it was either let your stuff turn to shit, right? Or it was fix it yourself. So, yeah, my dad taught me a lot of handyman kind of stuff. So yeah, I could install a toilet, but I don't want to. Yeah, people call me up and they're like, you guys do plumbing? I got a problem with my dishwasher. It's leaking on my floor. But this is a common enough occurrence with my business that I just have I'll just tell them, because usually they're local. They found me on like Yelp or something. Usually they're local guys. So I'll just refer them to the guy that I have do my plumbing, and they're super happy, and I'm like, cool, problem solved. That's why I do this business, anyways. I like solving people's problems. Yeah, I like helping people, making the world a better place. That's why I do electronics repair, specifically. I could do 100 other things, but this is one that like I get a high degree of satisfaction out of, because I'm letting people continue to use the things that they bought and paid for. And to me, it's really easy, but to my customers, it can make their whole month. It can make their week. If it's a data recovery, it can make their entire life go differently. Like, I've done data recoveries. They're really simple data recoveries. But some of the data recoveries I've done, like, I swear I might have saved someone's life. Like, I've had lawyers bring me, like, USB flash drives that they accidentally formatted. And they're like, man, I've got, like, 60 open cases that I've backed up to this flash drive. My laptop just died. I plugged my flash drive with all my backups in. These are older guys. They don't have like cloud storage or anything crazy like that. I mean, they're lawyers. They probably read the end user license agreement and like, oh no, I can't put my client's information on Google Drive. I digress. So yeah, he had just accidentally formatted it. I just needed to plug it in with the right software and do a raw file signature scan. Easy job. I only charged him like $40, but like he had like 50 cases that depended on having those documents. Like I could have charged him triple what I charged, probably even more than that, and he would have happily paid it. But like, I'm an honest guy. It took me 5 minutes to solve his problem. I don't feel, it doesn't feel good charging like, $500, $300, whatever you charge for your data recovery. Doesn't feel right charging that for something that literally took me 5 minutes. I just plugged it in, pressed a couple buttons, and it was good to go. I mean, I had that conversation with him before I knew what the problem was. I'm like, it really depends on what's wrong with the flash drive. Like, there's a chance I have to take the chip off the board and put it in a special reader and whatnot, or what I'm probably going to try to do first is see if there's a problem on the PCB itself, because it was like one of those micro center drives, So I kind of talked him through like what the different possibilities there were, and how I'd go about that data recovery. And I'm like, there's a chance, like, I just plug it in. I've got some pretty fancy pieces of paid software and free software that make solving that kind of issue a lot easier. See, he wasn't really dumb and like fat fingered, clicked format the drive and then hit OK. He had it plugged into a dock, like a KVM switch, between a Apple and Windows PC, like an Apple laptop and a Windows desktop. And in order for the drive to be read by both files, both operating systems, it had to have, I forget what the file system was, but it wasn't your Windows default and it wasn't your Apple default. It was something that both of them could read or something like that. I don't remember the specifics. This has been almost a year ago. But the way that file system works is you have to eject the drive. It's not like Windows or Mac on their own. Like if you're using what is it? exFAT is the default for Windows, I think. If you're using exFAT and you have default Windows settings, you can just rip the flash drive right out of the computer, right? And it doesn't cause a problem. But if you have like a weird file structure, weird file system like this guy had, and you just rip it right out of the dock, you can corrupt stuff. And it just happened to be that the first sector that kind of tells the computer where the hell everything is what got deleted. Jackie the deer says bleat. Deers make a bleating sound, right? Find yourself needing to dig through schematics very often for most repairs. TK Baja, yeah. I do, but that's only because I'm a sadist, and I try to go for, I specialize in complicated repairs. It's all in the name, advanced device repair. So doing board repairs and stuff like that. Yeah, I'll dig through data sheets, I'll dig through schematics every day of every week. Working on stuff like this arcade monitor is really nice because the schematics are just there. You Google them and you find them. Because they used to ship these with schematics, right? You bought the thing and you just received the schematics with it. Those were the days. But yeah, especially if you're, like I do. This is a GPU I just finished repairing. This is a 3080. Having schematics for this, very nice. Or if you're doing stuff like, these Mac boards, having schematics, very important. Yeah. I know a lot about doing these Mac boards because I used to be sitting here watching Louis Rossmann every time he'd start his stream. This is a donor board. It's been severely water damaged. But yeah, I know a lot about fixing these just from a little bit of skill rubbed off on me after just, hanging out in the Louis Rossmann lives for all those years. I miss Louis Rossmann's repair streams. I'd always be laughing about how frustrated he'd get with things. Like, the man has the patience of a saint, but, like, I'm just built different. Like, something doesn't work. Like, I'm just like, oh, okay, well, let's find out why it doesn't work. And Louis Rossmann is over here like, oh, this... he'll get tilted occasionally, Especially if he's repairing his own stuff. If Louis is repairing his own stuff, he's done for. Like, he posted recently, like, fixing that freaking vacuum. And he was on so much tilt there. He was not happy. Louis has said it himself. He hates repairing his own stuff. Like, he'll repair stuff to help another person all day till 4 in the morning. But when it comes to repairing his own crap, oh, hell no. I'm buying a new one. I'm kind of the same way. I hate working on my own stuff. Well, it depends on what it is. There's some things that, like, I procrastinate till eternity to repair, and I end up replacing it. Like, I intend to fix it someday, but, like, I need one, and, like, today is not that day, so I'll just go replace it. I get to the same... means to the same end, right? Means to the same end. So I end up doing the same thing Louis does, where it's like something breaks. Yeah, fuck it, I'll go buy a new one. I'm losing my voice today. Can you ask AI for schematics? No. You can ask me for schematics, and I can tell you I am not allowed to share them with you. See, I'm allowed to own those files. That's not illegal. But distributing those files, ooh, that is very illegal. So you kind of gotta, like, if you look hard enough, you will find schematics. They're out there. They're definitely out there. It's kind of similar to, like, can you pirate fill-in-the-blank software or something, or fill-in-the-blank movie? Yes. To find a good source for that you can trust and not get viruses and stuff, like, it's one of those things. There's definitely paid services out there. Like, I know you can go on Rewa and just buy their board view software, and it comes with all the schematics. Rewa, they're a part supplier. They do Repart, which are mobile phone parts. They kind of hide it in the back of their website. So if like a manufacturer's like looking around to see if manufacturer's lawyers looking around, they're not going to find it. It's like buried under like diagnostic, like, it's buried in the section of stuff that's like based off this, like their screen programmers and stuff like that. It's buried in that section where you can find it. But it's REWA, Rewa. There's a paid software that they make. There's also another paid software with schematics. It's from JC that make like the JC programmers for MacBooks and iPhones. This company. This is a TriStar tester / Tigris Hydra tester, which is the USB PMIC on iPhones. You can tell it's a little older. It's not one of the Type-C ones. But yeah, you plug this into the iPhone and it will check the charging port continuity, and it will check the first chip in the power circuit for the iPhone, which is your TriStar, Tigris, whatever generation you're looking at. Hydra, Tigris, TriStar. Actually, I have one of those chips sitting up here somewhere. Yeah, it's the one that normally goes there by the A15 CPU. That one. Because with it's a great tool. I used to be working at a chain repair shop that did almost exclusively smartphones, right? So being able to tell the difference between a bad charging port and a bad PMIC, very important. Because installing a charging port into an iPhone can take 3-4 hours, and they used to be a bit more expensive than they are now. They used to be like a $20, $30 part. And then you go through all that work and stuff, and then you haven't solved the customer's problem. So plugging it into this box can save you a whole lot of headache and save your customer a whole lot of headache. So that's why I own that. $200 tool, but it saved me more than $200 for my boss when I was working there. I almost never use it now because I don't do a lot of mobiles. Being like a mail-in repair service, no one wants to ship their phone out. Like, you want to walk into a place and get it done in an hour, right? It just makes sense. I don't try to compete for smartphone screen repairs, right? That's a commodity service at this point. You can get it done almost anywhere. Like, literally, what was it? Walmart. Walmart offers screen repairs. That's how much of a commodity screen repairs are. Now, will they do it right? Hell no. Most people that do screen repairs don't do it right. But, that's semantic. You definitely get what you pay for with screen repairs, I'll tell you that. And you really want to find somebody that really, really gives a shit about, like, reapplying the adhesive correctly and the water seals and all that shit. Because, every chain repair shop I've ever been in, I've seen people just, like, not even put the adhesive seal on the screen. I'd see that every day of every week, right? Just don't even replace the water seal. The old one's still sticky enough. And then it's like, yeah, no, you're basically fucking the entire, like, life cycle of that phone. Like, that phone will last years less than if you replace that water seal properly with the OEM adhesive. Or even cut it yourself out of, like, double-sided tapes and stuff. Like, if you ever watch Hugh Jeffries on YouTube, he's really good about talking about the importance of properly replacing the seals. And he's maybe not quite as dramatic as I could be about it, because he's kind of a very chill, laid-back dude. But, there's no excuse for not doing it. When you buy phone screens from reputable vendors, they come with that adhesive in the box with the brand new screen. All you gotta do is remove the old one and put the new one on. And that's like pulling teeth with a lot of techs that I've worked with in this industry. It's like, dude, you know you're doing it wrong. You're still doing it that way because you don't care. And, you know, I may have lost a job or two over arguments like that, where it's like, hey, can you do that right? But, that's why I started to, apply as the boss. Because I had that level of experience, right? But when I was just, you know, a grunt level tech or whatever, I was still the best tech in the building, don't get me wrong. But when I was employed as a grunt level tech, you know, I couldn't tell the other people with the same job title as me how to do their job. I did anyway, but they didn't have to listen, right? And like, you know, when I'm in charge, I'm just not gonna hire guys like that in the first place. Like, I see giving a shit as a prerequisite to doing good repair. One of those things, right? One of those things. My voice is just like gone at this point. How long have I been streaming? An hour and a half? Could you repair my RF Finder B1 Plus Android radio? Not sure if you... Yeah, I'm sure I could, yeah. I'm gonna say my motto for the 17th time this stream. Anything with a power button. Feel free to screenshot that. That's my company number. You can call, you can text. Preferably not while I'm still streaming. After this stream gets if this stream keeps going like it's been going, I'm gonna have to start like putting my phone on do not disturb. Because like if you text that number right now, you'll hear it. I'll have to look up his repair videos. I've seen his channel before, but he's usually sitting in a brown chair ranting about some random stuff. Yeah, Louis Rossman doesn't do repair. He's basically retired from repair at this point, TK Baja. He just was, like, at his time, the greatest of all time at MacBook motherboard repair. Now he's just got, like, a crack team of, like, guys that are excellent at what they do. Like Chris. Chris over at Rossman Repair Group is the guy, like, that really knows his stuff and is doing a lot of, what Lewis used to do. Lewis, yeah, he just makes, city videos in a brown chair talking about how big tech companies are bending you over and fucking you. Which, I like that content, too. I miss the old repair stuff. I know he doesn't have any left in the tank. Like, Lewis went hard back in the day. He would wake up, go to work, you know, he just grind and grind and grind till, like, 4 in the morning and finally pack up and go home. You know, he deserves, absolutely all of the comforts of his retirement, or partial retirement. I guess he still does some repairs sometimes, so that he can still call himself a repair technician, right? Because when he's doing what he's really passionate about, which is trying to, unfuck, you know, right to repair and rights to ownership, you know, he's had that experience, but he needs to at least maintain the facade that I still know what's going on in current year with the repair industry, right? Otherwise, you know, that's just an easy straw man that, you know, some big auto manufacturer or John Deere tech company can throw at him like, oh, you don't do repairs anymore. So he does a little bit of repair, and he's managing the business still. It's still his business. You know, he's the boss. He's in charge. I'm sure he's in there quite often. It's just like, he's not the guy that's doing the MacBook boards anymore. He's done enough MacBook boards for 4 different people. You know, 4 lifetimes worth of MacBook board repairs he's done. So he's now, he got promoted to a desk job, I guess. But yeah, his older videos, excellent MacBook. If you ever want to get into fixing MacBooks, you can learn everything there is to know about fixing MacBooks up until a certain year from his old videos. And there's other great channels. There's Paul Daniels on YouTube. Is a great place to learn, like, Apple repairs. I think he just does all Apple products. Is kind of where his demand's at. He's in Australia. There's Jessa Jones at iPad Rehab. She's an iPad specialist, but I've seen her do iPhones. I've seen her do Macs. I've seen her do Samsungs and all kinds of stuff. Like, you know, when you're a good technician, you're a good technician, right? There's Jesse Cruz with VCC Board Repairs. He's a really good channel if you want to get into, like, the cell phone board repairs. iPhones and stuff like that, micro soldering content. There's also, if you like general shit like I do, like I'm working on a CRT right now, I'm about to work on a car radio. If you like that kind of stuff, Northbridge Fix is great. There's not a lot of guys that just do literally anything and everything, but Northbridge Fix is definitely one of those guys. Alex over at Northbridge Fix, you know, he sells some tools and things on his website that I've bought, even though I know, like, they're white label Keon Lee's, because I like, his content was really good when I was learning. You know, he's been doing this a long time. There were some things I needed to learn that, you know, I was able to learn from his videos. Very helpful. I owe a debt of gratitude to Alex at Northbridge Fix when it comes to, like, learning to do what I do. So I'll buy his overpriced Keon Lee mini soldering iron that he calls the NF Mini. I don't care if he makes like a $30 margin on it. I'd just give him $30, you know? And I get something cool out of it, right? Alright, so I still got some caps left to do. I'm yapping too much and I'm not fixing shit. But, you know, the more I yap, the longer people stick around, typically. So, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, you guys listen to it, so I'm gonna keep doing it. Was that a 47 or a 4.7? This is why I say it out loud, because then you don't forget it. That's a 1 UF. That one is the 47. Okay, so I need a 47 and a 1. 1 UF, 50 volt, 47, 25. Do I have a 4750? Not in this kit. I typically prefer to upgrade the voltage rating of these capacitors when I'm changing these out. I know I said that earlier in the stream, but I don't know how many of you were here then. Also, I've had probably a completely different set of viewers than earlier. So hi, welcome in. Feel free to ask any questions about anything electronics repair related. I probably have an answer. If I don't, I probably know a guy. Every once in a while, somebody will throw a curveball at me. Jackie, if you're still hanging around, yeah, feel free to send that RF finder radio in. I'd love to work on that. That sounds fun. Ah, that arcade dust, man. It just collects in the back of your throat, and yeah. Not a great feeling, but I'm still having a great time over here. I love doing this shit. Come on. Come on. There we go. That was the 10 UF. I grabbed a completely different capacitor than the ones that I just pulled. Where are my 10s? There's a 10. UF, that goes, where was I? I was, here? Yep. There. Give this suck. Let's see. Definitely be sending you an old cell phone over to you. Touchscreen died, so I can't input my code to unlock it and download the old photo. Yeah, I can definitely get those photos off there for you, TK Baja. I get a lot of requests like that. Yeah. I'm probably also one of the cheapest places that does data recovery like that, because if it's just because the screen's broken, you know, I don't need to charge like $300+ for that kind of repair. There are certainly data recovery places out there that will, because, you know, their price is for data recovery, full stop. It doesn't matter what the actual problem is to them. I like to be fair to people. If it's something that I can fix in 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 15 minutes, I consider that when it comes to how much it costs. So the way I do data recovery is if it's a low value, like, you know, a cell phone that only needs a screen, well, those I tend to not to have, you know, unrecoverable data with, because if, you know, that's basically just doing a basic repair, but only for the goal of recovering the data. Yeah, I don't charge a lot for those. But if it's something a little more complicated, like a board repair or something like that, see, I charge, what I charge actually depends on the result of the data recovery, whether or not I was able to get that data. Because with data recovery, it's almost 100% labor. Like, my cost on a data recovery repair is like cents, pennies on the dollar. It's like electricity and maybe some solder flux, and maybe like one of these, you know, maybe an eighth of one of these things of alcohol, and like distilled water for the ultrasonic cleaner. Those cost $5 for 2.5 gallons, you know? So like my cost on a data recovery repair is essentially, for sake of argument, zero, right? But some data recoveries I could put 30, 40, 50 hours into if they're like this iPhone over here, and were dropped, broken, then dropped into a toilet, then dried off and continued to be used, and then their toddler threw it off a balcony. Yeah, this is like a $1,000+ ticket here. But if you just need a phone screen installed, not even permanently, like I can just loosely fit it on there and, you know, back it up to a flash drive and ship you a flash drive, like, I don't see why I'd need to charge very much for that. That's easy, right? I could do 100 of those a day, right? I can do multiple at once. I have the same soldering mat, bleat. Jackie is very much a deer. Thank you so much. Much respect. B1 Plus is a great ham radio, but as a daily driver, it ain't a good phone. Well, yeah, that's because it's a ham radio. And, you know, I like ham radios. I'm not really deep into the ham radio community. Some of those ham radio guys are, like, clinically insane with how technical they are with that stuff. And I'm like, I wish I had that kind of free time, really. Weirdly shaped screen and microcontrol, weirdly shaped screen and microsolder things, def needed. I was an arcade tech for 7 years. You're awesome. Dude, I love working on arcades. Coming from, like, my background is in this to this is like child's play. This is relaxing. This is easy. You know, I can be like, if I need a schematic for this board, I just look up the part number, its first result on Google, and I'm like, oh, thank God. Block diagrams, schematics, sometimes even technical assembly drawings. You know, there's decades of forum posts about how to fix these. It's so nice working on arcade stuff. It is, and there's money in it because people love arcade cabinets. They're just cool as hell. Like, yeah, you can't repair the new MacBook because you can't buy the chips, and the LCDs are like $300, $400. But this is great. You know, there's money here. I don't have to be working on the craziest, most complicated things all the time. Yeah, this is a nice break from soldering under this microscope here. Very, very nice break. Don't get me wrong, I love soldering under the microscope. That's what I'm good at. That's where I make my bread and butter. But, this hardware is beautiful. The cabinet is cool. It makes good YouTube content. So I'm gonna do this all day too. Hey, Demigod X, welcome in. Only problem is the shipping. I mean, commercial shipping for like phones and smaller electronic devices, like if you were to ship this out, it's only going to be like 12 bucks. If you're already looking at like a $200 repair on something, some of the higher value stuff that we work on, like, what's 12 bucks, right? And the shipping is always worth it when you're guaranteed an expert at that repair. Like mail-in is so underrated. Because like you could either have the guy at your local you break, I break more. I mean, you break, I fix. Or you could have literally the best guy in the entire world or the entire country. And it's going to be a similar price either way. It's more of like, how quickly do you need it? I've spent so much money on KLOV. What's KLOV? I'm drawing a blank on what you mean by KLOV. I'll shoot you a message about that phone tomorrow. Sure, happily. You got the, just shoot me a text. I'll get you taken care of. Alright, where was I at? I did that guy, I did this one. I got 3 left to go. Man, it's taken me 2 hours to do this. I've been yapping too much. Jazz Project, what's up? Welcome in. We're just doing a repair on a arcade CRT board right now. Recapping it. But I'm more yapping than recapping. It's just one of those days. Today's one of my many yapping days. But hey, the guys that are hanging out in here already are asking some really interesting and cool questions. So I don't care if it takes me twice as long to do this. I'm still getting paid either way. Well, I don't actually pay myself. Who am I kidding? If there's money left over after, I make all the upgrades and stuff I want to my equipment, like, I'm pretty aggressively reinvesting in my own company. Oh, killer list of video games. I gotta check that out. I don't think I've been there. Is it online? Is it in person? You said it's a community, so probably online. All power to you, man. Thank you, Jad. Do you drink Moxie soda? Is that a specific brand or a specific type? I might call it something different, like regionally. Like a Coke versus Pop versus everything's a cola or so on and so forth. I don't know if it's one of those situations or if this is a specific brand or flavor. But I'm a soda crackhead. I'm a fiend with the sodas, dude. Yeah. Just a whole lot of caffeine, a whole lot of nicotine. That's what keeps me going. I play a musical instrument we like to call the douche flute. And I won't elaborate further, as I don't know the average age of my audience. I haven't looked that deeply into my analytics. But yeah. I do tick the little box whenever I upload. Like, it's not made for kids, but, it's not age restricted either. Like, it's, probably, I'd call my channel, like, PG-13. No, I swear way too much to be a PG-13 channel, actually. I don't know. I feel like it's pretty, wholesome educational content. I've got a foul mouth sometimes. But I don't really care about, like, YouTube monetization, because at the end of the day, where I'm going to make my money is from the repairs themselves. I'm on here just to make good videos, which I've ranted about that before on the same stream. So if you're just showing up now, and you want to hear about that, just go watch the VOD. The VODs of these are pretty cool. Before anyone actually shows up, I'll even talk about, like, what I'm going to be doing that day for the people watching the VODs. Because they get a fair few views, I guess. I've only been actively streaming, like, vertical on shorts like this for a couple days, and I'm doing pretty good for myself, I think. Oh, it's a cola from New England in the US. I'll have to give it a try. Like I said, I am a connoisseur of carbonated sugar water. I love me some Mountain Dew, Dr. Pepper. Hell yeah. Banana bread at work today, dude? Hell yeah. Making not a lot of money for working really hard? Hell no. But getting banana bread today, dude, at work today, dude? Hell. Y'all ever seen that shit? I'm such a fucking zebra sometimes. I'm like right there on the Gen Z generation line. Not a millennial, barely Gen Z. Taking that box is the way to go. Having it for kids will just get the video. Yeah, if you say it's for kids, it's going in the Cocomelon box. Yep. The other thing that I do is when I upload, I tick the box. Well, I untick the box. It's ticked by default, but it's like notify subscribers about your upload, right? Little box that's ticked. I just go, yeet, and it's, I untick that. And the reason why is I've had this exact YouTube account for what, 15 years now? Feels like 15 years. Yeah, no, I made this YouTube account in 2008, 2007, something like that. And you know, I probably have, I'd say like 50% of my YouTube subscribers are from a completely different era when I was doing a completely different thing. They're probably my buddies from Skype that I played Minecraft with, honestly, when I was like 10 and 11. So I don't notify my subscribers because those count as real impressions. It'll serve that video to their inbox. If they still use YouTube, it'll put that in their subscription box, and those count as impressions. If somebody's actively watching your video and engaging with it, they're going to get it on their homepage. You know, or they're going to get it in their shorts feed. Either or. You don't need to notify your subscribers. You're just, like, crippling your video's performance by notifying all your subscribers. Unless you're a very new channel with a very active subscriber base, you might see better numbers notifying people. Or if it's, like, a very important announcement video, maybe. But if you're trying to grow your audience, notifying your subscribers is never the move. Because all of the impressions you're going to get on that video are now people that are interested in that topic. Right? Now, I didn't figure this out. I won't take credit for that. That's advice I got from Thor at Pirate Software. Game dev guy, Thor, from Pirate Software. He's the developer of a game called Heartbound, I think. Heartbound? I don't know. I don't have time to watch live streams anymore. That's the reason I'm streaming right now, is like, in my position, what, that was a, hey, does anybody remember what value of capacitor I said I needed to grab? Was it a 10 UF? Anyone paying attention? I hope. I think it's a 10 UF I needed to put in here. I pulled C20 and C21. I think they're the same value. I think they're both 10s. They're either 10s or 1s. It was 10. Thank you, Long Haul Lifestyle. You're a real one. Good. At least somebody's paying attention to what I'm talking about. So yeah, if you go back in the VOD, I talked about this a little bit, but I'm actually using like some garbage capacitors. Like, I love Micro Center, but I'm sorry. What the fuck kind of capacitor brand is Chong X? The customer for this board, like, ooh, my internet cut out for a second. What the hell? The customer for this board was getting impatient, and he's also a cheapskate, and I've done business with him for a long time, and he knows if you install bad parts, it's more likely I'm going to have to come back out and fix it again, and he just doesn't care. And, you know, he always pays. He's no Don Thorazine in the arcade scene. If any of you know of a Don Thorazine, do not do business with a Don Thorazine. He will not pay you. yeah, so he wanted it sooner rather than later, and he doesn't care that they're cheap and they might only last 2 or 3 years. He's like, I'm gonna have you out here anyway, who cares? Right? That kind of mentality. These work in a pinch. I've actually tested quite a few of these capacitors from the microcenter kit, and like their parasitics on the LCR meter aren't too bad. Caps from McMaster. What Fortune 500 company are you engineering for? Those are so overpriced. Go to DigiKey, Mauser Electronics. Mauser's cheaper than DigiKey usually. Used to be a manager at electronic repair store, mainly did micro soldering. Hell yeah, long haul lifestyle. Same. I just own the company now. I started my own company. I got tired of middle management. I got tired of the insurance companies that own those places. I got tired of, not being able to pay my employees what they're worth. Like, when I do start hiring people for advanced device repair, it's going to be highly selective. People that I handpick, hand train, usually with quite a bit of experience. And I'm going to start people at like $35 an hour. I had to, like, with a straight face, offer some kid that was super passionate about fixing phones or something. I had to offer that kid like $12 an hour because of middle management, and I hated that shit. I'm like, this kid is worth way more than that. And, I'm too honest. I will say that to his face. I'm like, man, go to the mom and pop shop down in the road. You're too good for here. I can still do it now. I do CB radios and guns in your off time. So you gunsmith, do CB. Yeah, there's a lot of money there. And it's also a good hobby. Yeah, I love Mauser. I love DigiKey. They're both great companies. Their customer service is excellent. There are plenty of vendors back in the day that got on my naughty list, like when Mobile Defenders was a thing, before Mobile Centrics bought them out in the cell phone repair space. Mobile Defenders would always screw you on their warranties and their returns all the time. They sucked to work with, but they usually had better prices than the other guys. These days, it's hard to compete with Mobile Centrics and Injured Gadgets. Those are the two big names. iFixit has some stuff, but they're not quite as price competitive. But their quality control is excellent. I've never opened up an iFixit part and been disappointed. So if it's a repair that there's like a big margin on, like I'm soldering in a new USB port to your MacBook, I always buy those from iFixit, because yes, they're a little bit more expensive than like some of the crap you can get from China through the resellers, but the cost of the repair is mostly labor with that kind of stuff. So I'll happily buy it from iFixit because I've never opened the package and been disappointed by what I saw. And some of them are refurbished parts. It's just they have a different level of attention to detail compared to other companies. I saw this broken trace here, and look, that trace is a little fucky. Just bend it back down. It's not so bad. See, it's a ground. That's the ground side, so I might just be able to tack it on the one side that's still present, and it'll be just fine. I can even intentionally bridge it over to the next pad on the same ground plane. I mean, it's not really a plane. This is all like very hand-drawn mask work. Let's see. First time tuning in. What are we fixing? This is the driver board to an arcade CRT TV. So like, there's a flyback up here. This is that's the this is the cathode side, I think. This is the anode side. I'm not quite sure about that. I haven't been working on CRTs for a decade. I've just been working on electronics in general for a decade. I'm very new to the arcade stuff. It's not very hard, though. I love working on it. It's so easy. You just Google this board schematic, first result on Google. Compare that to, like, you know, some unnamed trillion-dollar tech companies. This is definitely a lot easier and a lot more relaxing. Going to do my first cap replacement on a Go 7 screen. I'm not familiar with a Go 7 screen. Is that a monitor? Is that a smartphone? Usually, or are you talking about arcade stuff? You might be talking about arcade stuff. I don't know any of the model numbers of like the arcade CRTs off the top of my head. All I know is like K7000 24-inch, because that's basically all I've done is a couple of those. But as far as recapping things, I've been recapping shit for, you know, I started recapping shit when I was 15 years old. So when you're buying caps, honestly, for arcade stuff, I'd go to, what's the guy's website? There's a guy that just sells kits. Like, you just buy a bag of parts, and you have all the caps that you'll need to replace every cap. It's a lot easier than figuring out all the values and the voltage ratings, and selecting a capacitor from a good, reputable brand that has a good lifetime and ideal parasitics. That starts to get into, like, engineering territory and shit. So the guys that are just selling, like, you know, $20 kit of parts, $30 kit of parts, whatever it costs, those are definitely the go-to option. If you've already been doing electronics for a long time, you probably are like me, you have a Skittles bag of capacitors, and you can just make it work without having to order anything. But yeah, there's a good tip, is like, just get a kit from like one of those guys that have their own website, where they've selected all the parts. They've been doing this for years. They've probably been doing it since these things were new. A lot of these guys are older that run these companies. You know, small businesses. Use lots of flux. I don't know what your experience with soldering is. Use flux. Get one of those sucker things, but not the cheap ones. If you can't afford this, you know, the sucky 9000. That makes your life pretty easy. It's easier to add like low melt leaded solder and pull the cap through than trying to remove all the solder from around it, in my experience. I remove the solder after the cap's off the board. I hate using solder braid or solder wick. I find it is not beginner friendly either. It has its use case. I do use it. Like if I'm doing SMD work and I just picked up a BGA chip off a board and I need to go reball it, I clean those pads with solder braid. If you decide to use solder braid, crank the temperature on your iron way the hell up. If you're wicking solder up, you want your iron to be way hotter than you'd ever normally have it. Like right now, this is leaded solder. I've got it on 372 centigrade. If I'm using wick, if I'm using some of these, this is the good stuff, by the way. Mechanic makes great repair tools, mostly for cell phone repair, but also micro soldering and other stuff. This is good stuff. If I'm using this, I turn my iron up to 428 centigrade. So, and I've even turned it up to like 480 if it's a big thick board. If you're trying to wick something off like a GPU board, like let's say you're replacing this connector. If you're trying to get that solder up, this board is like 12, 24 layers. This is a lot of copper. This is basically a heat sink. So if your iron isn't really hot, you're not going to transfer enough heat to melt that unleaded solder in a quick enough, timely manner. Like before you start to melt the plastic on your connectors and stuff. So, yeah. And that's the other thing about wick, is if you don't have your iron hot enough and you pick it up while your wick's still touching the board, you can have the problem that a lot of new people have, where they get their wick stuck to the board and they rip the tray straight off the board with the wick. I see that far too often. And also you also have the risk of tiny little pieces of copper wire. If you don't have a very high attention to detail, or you don't have a microscope, you can sometimes unintentionally add a wire to your circuit. I've seen that plenty of times in repair recoveries. So I prefer, if you're doing through-hole stuff, especially for arcade stuff, I'd avoid using braid unless you're dealing with like heavy corrosion. Sometimes braid is better than sucking if it's in like terrible shape. Yeah, I'd much rather use one of those clicky solder suckers when I'm teaching people. I tend to see people have more success with that. There's no such thing as too much solder flux. Buy some good solder flux. I like this stuff. It's called UG78 from Ugain. It's quite nice stuff. I like that. I also like Amtech UV223, which is like the flux. If you get into the electronics repair community, I probably have a tube of it over here somewhere. Yeah, there's a empty tube. Amtech UV223. They come like I've got end cap sitting around in my junk bin. I might around here somewhere, but they come like this end's capped and this end's capped. Like you got a big orange cap on the back of here, and like this way oversized twist-on like stopper. Not like this style syringe stopper. This style. It's like this, but like bigger sometimes. They're like they're more screw head shaped than yeah, and then this thing. They come like this. You see something that looks like that on a repair shop desk, you know what they know what the fuck they're doing, pretty much. Because this is like the go-to for a lot, many repair shops for many years. This has been this. Yeah, get some good flux. Use it liberally. Flux is kind of like lube. You can't have too much lube. You can't have too much flux, right? Afraid of ruining the pads. How do I prevent causing any damage? Osby, is it Osby? I don't want to butcher people's names. I'm gonna say that's probably close enough that you're not offended. If you're scared about ruining the pads, sometimes it can't be avoided, man. Sometimes it can't be avoided. With these older boards that are manufactured with an older process, sometimes nothing is holding the copper to the fiberglass. Sometimes there's just nothing holding those together. It's just being able to identify when you do snap them, how to fix it. You just get a little piece of wire, and you can either use like a little razor blade to like scrape away the green solder mask, the green stuff. You scrape away the green stuff further down on that same trace, and you just solder a wire to where you scraped, and then you solder it to the pin of the component. And then you either you conformal coat it down or solder mask it down, which they sell little syringes. This is UV green solder mask, so it's just green goop, like that. It takes very little of this to get something stuck real good. Yeah, you just get like a tiny little bit. Like that is more than you ever really need for micro soldering stuff. And you just goop that down, and then you get an ultraviolet light, like a curing lamp. They're pretty high-powered ultraviolet lamps, but they have a lot of them that are like USB powered. Mine is chilling over here somewhere. Mine is actually a gel nail light for like manicures that I use to cure this. Because I'm a cheapskate, and my wife loves to do nails. She works at a beauty supply company, so she's been doing gel nails for a long time. And last Christmas, she got like the gel nail light, like her curing lamp was pretty mid. And she got a really nice one gifted to her for last Christmas. So I got the hand-me-down gel nail light, and I've been using it to cure my solder mask for like the last year. If I ever do upgrade my curing light for the solder mask, I'm probably going to build it myself anyway. Because, like, you know, I order things off Mauser. Designing a circuit to drive some LEDs is kind of like baby's first circuit design kind of stuff. And I like doing fun projects like that, especially if I get to 3D print or machine or something like that. I'll find a way to make it way over-engineered. What's your opinion on butane or propane soldering irons? Those are for plumbers. That's what my opinion on those is. Yeah. So yeah, don't be afraid of ruining the pads with stuff this big. You don't need a microscope to fix this. Like I could just take my I'm not going to actually do this. This is a customer item. If it was mine, I'd do it in a heartbeat just to prove a point. Like if you snap this trace, like fixing that, you take a file or a knife and you grind here, you grind there, and you solder a wire between those 2 points. You take your goop and you goop it. If you don't want to get a UV light to cure UV solder mask, honestly, hot glue fucking works. Hot glue works A1. Unless it's something that gets really especially hot. Honestly, on a CRT board, maybe not use hot glue. Maybe B7000 rubberized adhesive would be a bit better. Or even, hell, with this wave soldered stuff, you can use electrical tape. You just need to insulate it so that you're not incidentally shorting things out. And you kind of need to structurally reinforce that repaired trace, because usually they're not attached to the fiberglass anymore. If you're extremely careful, you can use CA superglue, cyanoacrylate glue, but I would not recommend that for beginners. You're more likely to make things much worse with CA glue if you're not already comfortable using it on a very fine, precise level, right? CA glue is something that, like, I tell people, yeah, don't use CA glue, but you'll see me do as I say, not as I do. If you're new to this and you're asking what you should use on the board, don't use CA glue. If you've been doing this for 5 or 6 years, yeah, you can use the hell out of CA glue, man. Just don't get it on something you shouldn't. And at that point, you'll know what you shouldn't get it on. Right? It's like, yeah, UV solder mask is a lot easier, and it's a lot easier to fix if you screw it up. Until you turn that light on, you can just wipe it away. It will never harden, not in a million years, unless it gets ultraviolet light. Well, it will dry up a little bit, but you can still wipe it away with some alcohol. So, you get infinite tries to get it right. So I hope that answers your question, Ozzy, about how to not rip traces up. Is sometimes you can't avoid it, but definitely use lots of flux and leaded solder. Don't use leaded solder if you don't have proper fume extraction. There's no safe level of lead exposure. Low melt solder. Low melt solder. The leaded stuff is easier to work with if you have the right safety equipment, the right PPEs. But a solder with a lower melting point is going to be a lot easier for removing things. I use solder wire to remove stuff. That's something a lot of people new to soldering don't realize is the longer the solder sat on that board and oxidized, the worse it's going to flow when heated. So adding new solder to old solder joints will make them a lot easier to work with. These grinding pens, by the way, this is like a $10, $15 tool. It comes with the little diamond bits. You can get this on AliExpress or Amazon or any of the parts houses for phone repairs. Very, very handy thing to have. I use this outside of electronics repair all the time. Like, I'll have some like little plastic nub on something that if I bought some cheap garbage and like there's a button that came on a sprue and like it gets stuck and I'm like, why did I buy Chinese garbage again? I know better. You can just get rid of it with this, like just zip, grind it off, you know. Precision grinding and polishing pen is what they call these, but you can use them for trace repair. That's what a lot of us do. And they come with like, you know, like buffing, like, you know, like these polishing things. So I also use it to polish like tools and stuff. I really like polishing metal stuff. I don't know why. It's one of those things that I'm always just looking for an excuse to do. Because there's nothing more satisfying than taking something to like a mirror polish. Like after a stressful day of trying to figure out some guy's like, you know, $2,000 gaming laptop or some person's toilet water iPhone. I love just like shine up some metal for the hell of it. I don't know, maybe I'm weird. Ever have any luck with those old Red Ring Xbox 360s? Yeah, those are pretty easy. If you're good with BGA. So let me explain the Red Ring here. Where's the highlight button? Boom, highlight. No, not that one. Highlight. up to the last 5 minutes. Okay. So once I'm done explaining it, I press the button. Cool. So the red ring of death, the way that worked is BGA, like ball grid array. So you have a chip. Chips like these, this is a dip style. So this is a through-hole chip. So there's dip, and then there's like QFN and similar, where it's surface mount, but you can see the pins. So those would be like this, right? So that would be like QFN or TSOP or stuff like that. Those packages, you know, they have legs that you can see from the outside of the chip. Maybe there's a ground pad under them. You'll have a lot of chips like that. Or you have like some of your QFN packages where it's like there's a metallized edge of the chip. Like this. And maybe 1 or 2 pads. You'll see this on like MOSFETs and stuff. And then like it looks like you can see the pin, but that's not actually the pin. That's literally just the solder joint. So there is no protruding metal. It's flush. And then there's what's called ball grid array, or BGA. So you have a chip like this, and under the chip, you have a grid of solder balls that are all uniform in several different patterns. So with the Xbox 360, what caused the red ring of death is the SoC, or the APU. Like the CPU of it, for a lack of a better term. I don't know exactly what that chip's technical specification is. It's kind of semantic anyway. But the main processor on the 360 would be pressed against the heatsink, right? With like this X bracket, which not a bad design in of itself to have an X bracket holding pressure of your main chip to the heatsink, right? It wouldn't unsolder itself. No. It was more of a board flex issue. So you have these BGA joints down here, right? And here's your PCB. But these boards are flexible, right? And here you're using, you know, this huge spring tension right next to your chip. Say these are the pegs that go through the board that are holding it to this package up here. We're going to turn into our heatsink. This is no longer a QFN chip, guys. This is now our heatsink. This is 10 out of 10, like MS Paint explanation here. So this is holding it to, this big square is now our heatsink, right? So you're putting pressure between this point and the back of the board. And what's that doing? It's doing this to the board, right? You've got big downward pressure. And if you don't have that load equally distributed... no, they weren't even sandwiched. These are the single board. But the board would flex. And what would happen is these ball joints were too brittle, and they'd just crack. So you'd have the pad on the board come away from some of those joints. So the way you fix those is basically to just pull the SoC or the CPU or the APU or whatever it's called, the main processor. You pull that main processor and you reball it and you solder it back down. Some people were able to actually fix the red ring of death by literally throwing their Xbox into the oven or plugging it in with like a towel wrapped around it. Because sometimes the solder joints would only subtly disconnect. Like they'd only have a kind of questionable connection. They wouldn't totally crack off or snap off. They'd just... you'd have... here, I'll draw what it would look like under like a super powerful microscope. This is one ball here, right? And when these balls get melted, like you have a uniform ball of solder during manufacturing, but they melt down and they squish down. So here's your flat trace on the board, and here's the flat pad on the back of the chip. So sometimes you'd have where it's like less of that circle is actually making contact. And you can have, you know, it like crack here a little bit. So now you only have like this much metal that's conductive between A and B. You need a really, really powerful, like, if you're not using like one of those fancy like X-ray machines, it's hard to actually visualize this stuff. You need like a very fancy piece of equipment to see this. But that's kind of what happens is like, you know, you can have an intermittent connection there. Why is my phone dying? Oh, because I'm using the audio interface. I'm not plugged into anything. I mean, I'm about done with this, and that's about all I have in the tank for tonight. I might come back on in a little bit and stream some more other repairs. But I need to eat something. Like, my brain's fried, so I'm yapping a whole lot. Let me press that highlight button. Make sure I get that Red Ring of Death explanation. That would make a good YouTube short if I cut that down, you know? So, Jackie, TK Baja, Ozabi, Jad, and Long Haul Life. If you guys are also here, thanks for hanging out. Definitely subscribe. We're going to be doing this like every day. I probably won't yap quite as much most days because I do actually have to get stuff done. So yeah, thanks for hanging out. I might be back on later tonight. If not, I will be back on tomorrow. You guys take care.